know exactly what is out there.
Welcome to BevanWorld, episode 3. This week we're talking about an episode name I can't pronounce. Do you know how, what? Virtù e Fortuna.
Virtually Fortuna, yeah.
Virtually
From a
Fortuna.
Machiavelli poem.
Is that it? Is that the reference?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't actually look it up. Directed by Richard J. Lewis, writers Robert Patino and Ron Fitzgerald. Going to be breaking down the episode. Joining me today, as usual, Nicholas Pryor.
That's me.
And I am your guest for this week, Dylan Blight. I changed it. I went in when because hey, if you're watching the video, BevanWorld is now a podcast. You can do also now. And when I was putting the descriptions for them into the audio versions, and usually on all our other podcasts it says hosts, right?
Yeah.
So it's like host Dylan, host Nick. And then I was looking at it, I'm like, this shit is wrong, and I changed it so it says guests because we're guests, not hosts. Or are we?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, get it? Yeah. That was me having. I thought it was funny. Alright, so the synopsis for this episode is: there is a beauty in who we are, shouldn't we too try to survive? Which is just a quote that is said in the episode from who said it? Dolores, yeah. Dolores said it. All the other episodes have actual proper synopsises, like in the wake of the after party, blah blah blah, who tries to escape. This one they're just like, we'll chuck a quote on it. Alright, so before we jump into the breakdown, as usual, what was your overall opinions on this week's episode, Nick?
Not too hot on this one.
Why? What was the problem?
The CGI, the whole battle scene, just little niggly things.
Yeah, I'll agree that we talked at the end of last week's episode and was like, maybe the CGI for the tiger will look better by the time we get to this week's episode. Nope. Still look pretty crap. The battle scene also at Forlorn
Hope.
Forlorn Hope, yeah. Was pretty shit, yeah.
Yeah.
It
was bad.
It was bad. It's like they wanted to have some sort of battle sequence in episode 3, and they're like, look, we do spend a bit of money on this show, but not quite enough. Like, you've probably got something bigger happening in episodes like 8 or 10 or something, down the line. We spent a fuck ton of money on making the Shogun world this season. Like, that was pretty much all your budget on making another world.
Yeah.
Do we have money to make a good action scene in episode 3? No, we do not. That is not in the budget at all. It was pretty bad. We'll talk about it more when we get to it, but yeah. I'll say it's the weakest episode of the season so far.
Easily, yep.
Easily. With that said, still a lot of cool things happened, I thought. Still enjoyed it, but just on Westworld par, the weakest episode of this season so far, I'd say, yeah. So jumping into it, we get a bit of a prologue this episode before the opening credits, which is all, at first you're like, did you get the same reaction I did? So it opens, you see a building, you see people walking around, and you're kind of doing the whole like, is this or park, is this the real world somewhere?
I thought with them ending with the tiger, like next episode tiger, then starting with this and it being India, I thought that's India straight away. That's the Raj world or whatever.
It could have been like a red herring to open it, and then they could have twisted it and been somewhere in the real world. So I wasn't jumping on, but it is Raj world, which they never call it in the episode, but they confirm on,
I believe on the Delos website it's called the Raj.
The Raj, but I'm refusing to call it the Raj world. I'm just going to call it Raj world. Look, do I call it the Westworld?
No, but that's not the name of the park according to Delos, the website.
Yeah, but it all just looks more consistent if this park doesn't have this park doesn't have... Anyway. So
there's 3 other parks we don't know about. They could all be the something.
At which point
Then
I'll
Westworld
be
weird.
calling it the Westworld, just to keep everything in line. So yeah, it's Rajworld, British ruled India. That's a park that exists which is odd. I'll talk more a bit about that in a second. But the scene that we get is two new characters. You get this lady, she's sitting at a bench, and this guy, or a table, like breakfast or brunching or whatever's happening. Yeah. They're all, we'll have a nice cup of tea. She gets talking to this dude who walks over, sits near her. Someone tries to come up, a host, to basically separate them, and they make this little note about, they really don't want us talking, which I think by the end of this episode, because spoilers, he dies obviously, and she like washes up on the Westworld shores at the end of it, and tying that in with the fact that like someone's trying to keep her from talking to this guy. She seems like she might be someone of importance that could be connected in some way to something we already know, just not someone random. My initial thoughts, Man in Black's daughter.
She's the
yeah. That's that.
Also, that notebook that she has is, I'm fairly certain, the notebook that he had in the first season.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, I'd have to go back and
And
double check.
on the map there's a symbol which looks like two D's interlinked, and that symbol also comes up on the tablet Bernard has later.
Yeah, that makes sense. But do you have the problem? If it is the Man in Black's daughter, is that just too easy? Like a bit too interconnected plot writing, you know?
I can see her motivation, like, because she blames him for the death of their mother.
Yep.
And I think it's a way for her to get into it. I don't know, to try and discover what ate his whole life up. And with them going on a specific expedition to literally the edge of that park, I think it was a way for her to maybe hop parks to get into Westworld undetected, I guess. Because him being like pretty much the owner of everything, he would know all the goings on and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, she admitted, like, she says to the guy when they head up to the room, or like as they're heading up to her room, that like he's like, oh, you're here for the elephant hunt? No, the tiger hunting. Yeah. Blah 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 blah. She's like, yeah, it sounds great or whatever. So yeah. Maybe that's just all a disguise for her to get to the edge of the park, and they purposely do say, like, he's like right at the edge of the park, you know, like way out there. That's where we've got to go. So that is probably something worth noting. So, and then the other thing that kind of ties her into being Man in Black related is her personality, I guess, because they get up there, they start making out, and then she's worried about him being a host. Yeah. And to prove it, she walks into a room, has a fuck ton of guns just sitting there. Yeah. And she's like, all right, well, got to shoot you. And he's like, oh, I don't really want to do... And then she just shoots him anyway with one of the park guns. And, like, if he was a host, he would have been actually shot, but because of the way it's all set up, and they explain that in, like, the first or second episode of season 1. Like,
yeah, there was also an interview with the director. They go, question... obviously they can tell if they're aimed at a human or a host, but the guns fire bullets at different speeds depending on which they're aimed at, or do they internally switch ammo from lethal to non-lethal or something else. And the response they gave was, they do slow down and create more of a bruise effect. There's a safety mechanism that's locked in when it's on a human, that it creates a different velocity for the bullet.
There you go. I mean, that's him giving an answer to the people who are like, explain how this works. Even though I personally was like, I don't really like. You could just be like, they aim the gun at humans.
This specifically bugs me because if it knows when it's locked onto a human, it slows down the velocity. How and then are the hosts using those same guns to kill the guest?
I suppose. Well, they hack the guns, you know, like whatever. I'm sure it seems like something that'd be very easy to write in an answer for if they wanted to, you know. And it's the kind of thing where you could be like, oh, you just went from dot point to dot point to dot point, and was like, yeah, it makes sense, but you just made that up, and it would be like, yeah, so like whatever. So she shoots him, he goes down, gets bruised on the shoulder, decent bruise too, like a big ass pellet gun type shit happening or something. Then they fuck, I suppose. I don't know. And then it cuts to the next scene, and they're on the elephants and they're hunting for the tigers, and they've headed out to this outpost section, I suppose you'd call it. And when they arrive there, she quickly notices that all the hosts are missing. There's like no one else there, no other guests. There's this, this whole campsite basically set up, and they're the only ones there. Their person that took them there just wandered off. Where the hell did he go? Don't know. And then they open up this tent. Inside the tent, bunch of dead bodies, and then their host that drove them in.
No, the guests.
Guests. Sorry.
Yeah.
All dead, shot. She's like, "Oh, this is weird." Turn around, guys coming back with a gun to shoot them, muttering about violent delights and all that sort of nonsense. And then the guy, of course, is, as you would, he's like, "What are you so scared about?" Like maybe they have gone a bit haywire, or maybe this is all part of the storyline or something like this. Oh, they've amped up the story. Or
before we get further, I want to mention how good that rendition of Seven Nation Army was at the beginning.
Yeah, I saw heaps of people. I completely missed that, probably because I'm not as attuned to it. But yeah, I saw people online pointing out that they're like, at the start, did everyone miss that? But I saw other people being like, "Oh, I wasn't paying enough attention." Maybe because it's right at the start of the episode, and you kind of just like, you're not like zoned in yet. If they put it in the middle of the episode or towards the end where you're fully paying attention, I was just like, still probably like, oh, it's on, it's on, right? Okay, yeah, settle in. So, but then the guy gets shot, he's dead. Woman bolts. Manages to get a shot off. Grabs a shotgun, shoots him, manages to run off, runs into Bengal tiger, shoots tiger once, survives, runs to the edge of the park, and this is I really enjoy it because every last 2 episodes we're like, how does the park work? Blah 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 blah. Finally get an answer to that. There is at the edge of this park, there is literally like a bridgeway connecting it to another park, like a big gaping, like literally.
I think it's like
borders.
the back roads and all the maintenance roads and stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that, which would make sense. And there's like a little laser beam on the tracks when people walk through it, and then as she's walking through, it's like, please turn around, you have reached the edge of the experience, please turn around, you have reached the edge of the experience. The interesting thing, of course, is the fact that the tiger can just walk through it without it dying or something like that, which you'd think would be a countermeasure, but at this point none of the countermeasures are obviously working, so they're just fucked. But I presume that's something that they would have in play in case something like that happened, if everything was working correctly. She runs to the edge of this cliff. Tiger runs at her, shoots it. They both like fall off into the ocean, and then the credits start opening. And you're like, oh, okay, so that's how the tiger shows up. Wonder what happens to her. We don't know until the end of the episode. I thought it was a cool way to open the episode.
I enjoyed it.
Fairly lengthy sequence, like to set it up before getting into the meat of the episode, I suppose. It is so the big thing that I find interesting about this with Rajworld is that it is a park that is about being colonized of some sort. Like it's themed with it is a British ruled India, right?
Yeah.
Like it could have been anything else, but that is like one of the parks. Westworld is also about a park where it's basically white Americans coming in, pushing out the Native Americans.
Depends when it's set, because by that time it's pretty much all been taken over.
Well, you can go in.
It's the beginning. If it's the end of the 1800s, the beginning of the 1900s.
But either way, you can go in and hunt down the Native Americans. Like, they're the bad guys. They're the real, they're the bad guys in this thing. So what I find all interesting about that is, so far, a bunch of the parks that we know about are purposely themed about some sort of, rule of sort.
I don't think it's a purpose. I just think they're heavily romanticized.
What history of?
I take away from that if you will, but I don't think they're set up specifically as oppressive type things.
Don't you think?
Because look at all the media about Wild West, and then colonial eras romanticized in England and all that, and I believe I read that it's also romanticized in India itself as well. Like they're also catering not to only white people. Like, I don't know. I guess everyone that's rich could go there.
What's catering
Shogun
to the rich?
World, I can't imagine to be because
No,
it
well,
seemed
they-
to
I
be
mean-
a period before Western integration.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end of the episode a bit because there is a description up for that, which is worth pointing out for the type of park and entertainment
Yeah.
you're getting from it. But so far, both the parks are come to Westworld and, violence, sex,
Yeah.
whatever, and the big bad guys are the Native Americans, which the Ghost Nation,
Yeah.
which show up in this episode, and we'll talk about it a bit later because they do have an interesting part in this. But they're like considered, and they talk them up in the first season to be like they're like the end of the game, like high level boss, like and then Rajworld is like here, come here, and you can have these slave type people serve you and blah blah blah. It's definitely catering towards the rich, the whatever the sick, and it plays on the sick of mind of power hungry type shit. And especially when you read the description for Shogun, where it does help for that. So now I'm more intrigued, like, what are the other worlds going to be? Because there's no way one of them's just like peaceful beach island world. Like it's...
Well, I think like there's levels of intensity, and I think Rajworld, I think, is for the less intense.
It's
We go
still
have
like...
high tea in a different setting, and like the most exotic thing, I don't know, maybe they do the Mughal Revolution, but it's just hunting wild animals, kind of like on safari.
Yeah, I guess. So it's still like it's lower than Westworld, I guess, but it's still not like beach, just chill, like a nice, relaxing.
But I think if you got the money to do that, why would you go to a simulated area that's costing you thousands of dollars per day?
I suppose it's if we're well. So let's read the description to talk about this a bit more. So description for Rajworld from the website is: if being pampered by a world-class spa is your cup of tea at the Darling Tea, the park's jungles and mountains are your only chance of glimpse of magnificent beasts long vanished from your world. So the most interesting line in that to me is the beasts that are long vanished from your world.
Yeah,
obviously.
Extinct, it's kind of like a zoo.
Yeah,
even.
I guess safari of some sorts. Way more high tech safari than what we've got these days. But I think it's just the most interesting line because we do have this whole theory running, and obviously we wonder what the real world's like and if it's like semi-destroyed to some degree, ruined, like dying Earth type scenario, and that information obviously lends to that sort of theory where it's like beasts that have died out. They didn't just specifically say like this tiger has died out. It's like beasts long. So there's other things. You wouldn't be surprised if it's like, oh, bears are dead, blah blah blah, like all sorts of fucking animals are dead. So it is just hinting at kind of what's happening to the real world a bit more.
There's also more that hints to that as well. Like when jumping ahead a bit, where Dolores asked Bernard if he's been out there, and he didn't answer. She goes, "I've been out there," but that was 30 years ago. Like the world could have been such a different place now.
Yeah, and also, I was thinking more about it since last week. We can really not confirm if that was the real world.
Yeah, that's true. Also,
we
just assume it. Yeah,
it could have literally been virtual reality.
Yeah,
like they're gonna pull back and be like, "Oh, it was VR." Like
where I don't know, Westworld caters. Like I know there was something. James goes, "I'm not interested in virtual something, I'm interested in the reality," and William is pushing on something like where all the rich and powerful of the world live in these Delos world type things as a way to escape. I don't know, this sort of cataclysmic event going on. And I read this other theory that Logan wasn't injecting drugs, it was kind of like an antidote or a medicine or something like that.
For like a poison that's ripping the earth apart or something?
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever it is.
Could be. Could be something like that. I'll buy it. Alright, let's move into the next scene and the actual start of the episode, I guess, not the prologue section. So we jump ahead to the future timeline, as I call it, which is the like woke up on the beach Bernard timeline event, which future. So Charlotte is inside a bunker area or whatever, and Bernard walks in with the bunch of other dudes that he was with last time we saw them. The big leader of Delos dude, whatever his name was. Well, not leader of Delos, but the men. This is interesting because, of course, now we know that Charlotte survives
Yep.
to at least this timeline, because anytime we see a new character that Bernard runs into in that timeline, it's like, oh, so they don't die.
Yeah.
We know that Teddy's dead and a bunch of other hosts are dead because we saw them all drown in the lake, but we didn't know if she survived, blah, 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 blah. She says this interesting line that is, you survived. I didn't think you had it in you.
Yeah.
So, which I find
think
like,
she knows he's a host.
Yeah, the way she said it then was very like,
it's like, oh, I know you won.
Yeah, it was a bit weird. And there was the fact he just wakes up on the beach. Everyone else is not paying any attention to him until like the last second, and they're like, "Oh, you survived." Like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like they all know he's a host at this stage. So, wouldn't be surprised. Then she says to him, "Do you have any idea where Peter Abernathy may have gone?" So it kind of sets up the episode to be, "Hey, look, they do actually find him at some point, and then he goes missing again. So let's diddle, diddle, diddle." And he has like, but the interesting part about it going back into the past is it doesn't just jump scene or something like that. It is, he has like a mind flicker. So I don't know if it was like him remembering again, or we're literally seeing into the past through his memories as he's remembering it, kind of thing. I don't know.
You could also go into, they could do twists and stuff later on that don't make sense, as saying that he was like a unreliable narrator or whatever, that kind of mechanic, storytelling.
They could. Could be a thing. I'd buy it. It would explain a lot of the weird stuff that's happening this season, I guess. So then Charlotte and Bernard in the past, they're off to look for Peter, of course, after they tracked him on the computer systems in the bunker in episode 1. Yes, 1.
Yep.
They find a bunch of hosts who are holding up a bunch of people, including Abernathy and a bunch of other real human people. I took it like they were.
Yeah. Do they think Abernathy's a human?
I guess that was what I took it as. Yeah, I think they thought he was a human. One of the dudes is Stephen Ogg. Yeah, from GTA, Walking Dead, whatever, however you most know him for. Rebus is his character in this, who we see being shot in the head in the season opener. So we know he survives up until that point, solely going off the theory that there's no way anyone's repairing hosts and putting them back into the park. Like, so it's like, if anyone's get shot, you can time where they're going to die or not. So they go back over. He's like holding them all up to trade off to people.
Selling them to the Confederados, I think.
Yeah, something like that. They're still just like on their storyline, but it's really weird how it's playing out, considering none of the people that they find or pick up make any sense for the story. And then Abernathy's on the ground just muttering, like, you can tell he's still fucking off his chops. He doesn't know what's going on. They get Rebus. He like walks off. They manage to trick him, knock him out, get down there. Bernard hacks into his arm, changes his whole character profile to basically be the number one superhero of Westworld, which turns out to be really funny when they go back in there later.
I'll escort you.
Yeah, leave me alone. That was one of the funniest lines when he's just like running. I'll help you. Leave me alone. So this whole time, like, Peter's muttering about getting back onto a train when they get him. They get him because Rebus goes back in there, lets them all out. Peter is muttering about getting back to a train, blah, 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 blah. They try and help him out. Then he's just like, no. You can't. Yeah. You just can't be here. He stands in the middle of the road, starts singing a fucking song as the Confederates roll up on him.
Because about his like written character, he's an ex-Union soldier, where the Confederates are ex-Southern soldiers.
Okay. I didn't know that. I couldn't. Was that like information we got in like one random episode? I couldn't remember. I suppose that makes a bit more sense. Then so he runs. Well, Charlotte runs off on a horse. She takes off because they're like, well, we're fucked. They're gonna shoot us. They're gonna shoot Bernard. They're gonna shoot Peter. Whatever. I'm off. Bernard stays there. I don't know why he didn't run off as well. It's just like,
I thought they didn't realize he was there.
Well, something, I don't know. It was odd. It was like, she's like, all right, bye, peace out. Like, okay, interesting, whatever. And then the Federatis get Peter and Bernard. We then cut to Dolores, who finds herself, she's gone down the hill where we last saw her, and she's rocked up on the whole army, the encampment, the four-line hope, which we find out is what it is in a little bit. She nicely introduces herself as White to the general.
Yeah, White, yeah.
Call me White. Just call me White. So then she's obviously trying to talk to him, like, give me your soldiers, blah, 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 like what we went through the episode previous with the captain, lieutenant, whatever he was, I don't remember. And then Clementine comes out of the forest with 2 bodies of
Zombie
humans.
Clementine.
Sorry?
Zombie Clementine.
Yeah, zombie Clementine. It's weird how she looks, right? Like, but they changed her. She looks really crazy, and so does the other girl. That's how you got the 2 crazy 2 crazy girls that are like Dolores' right hand girls or whatever, and they're both like way more crazy than the usual host versions. Yeah, she drags out 2 human soldiers. Dolores presents the weapon to the general. He's like, "What the fuck is this shit?" Then the dude she says, "Let the dude run," and then he fires off the gun. It was like, "Oh, this is fucking like, pretty good. Like, this gun's fucking sick." And then he's like, "Okay, well, you just want my help killing some people? You're going to give me a whole bunch of weapons that shoot off bullets this pace? Sure. Welcome to Fort Forward Hope." The thing interesting about this is they're like, "Here, have this gun." And then later in the battle scene, they're all down there with their pea shooters still.
They're fucking repeating rifles and stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, what happened to the fucking weapons?
We'll get to that later.
It is. I mean, there's a few annoying things, but you know, whatever. Maeve, we catch up with Maeve, Hector, and Lee, who notably looks ridiculous in his outfit. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
His hat on, his little suspenders, everything, pushing along the donkey. What a little donkey boy, Lee Sizemore. So they're still wandering through the park, looking on their way to Maeve's daughter. They're crossing this river or lake, whatever, bed of water of some sort. They're crossing, and then one of the Ghost Nation people start creeping up, and Hector can speak to him. They have this little conversation. Dude's like, "Yous can keep going on the path that yous are currently headed. Don't really care, but we get Lee."
Yeah.
And Maeve's like, "No, I kind of still need him." To which I'm like, why? Why?
Yeah.
I still don't understand why she needs him. There's too many characters I feel like she hasn't let die, and it's very obvious in this episode, because she won't let him die, and then also, skipping ahead a bit, we find out what's his fuck, the other doctor dude who she slits throat, and then 2 seconds later was like, "Oh no, seal him up. I might need him." I'm like, what do you need him for? Like, you've already, the old mate, the other guy is your friend, willing to help you. Why do you, I don't know. Anyway, so she just apparently won't let characters die when they should die, as far as I'm concerned. So then Maeve tries to Jedi mind trick him.
Yep.
Doesn't work, which I'm not going to talk about here because I'm tied in towards at the end of the episode, because this is worth talking about in a little bit more depth, but it is like, okay, you're odd. She can control everyone. That's a host of some sort.
Yeah.
How come they won't listen to her? Her exact reaction, because she's like, "Fuck this shit," and runs. So then all 3 of them run down the hill and jump in a bunker and manages to go underground.
There's something about the scene where they're running along the fields that I really liked. I think it was a good shot.
Yeah, I think it was too. Well, I think it could have been a lot scarier. I would have liked them to scare it, to make it a bit more tense, I guess, but whatever. It was fine. Because the Ghost Station people don't show up until like the last second as they're already kind of going down. You're like, not as tense as it could have been. I think could have been a bit tenser. And that's where we can't leave them for the moment.
Yep.
Cool. Whatever. Mate,
you're in an elevator.
You're in an elevator. Back at Fort Forlorn. Back at Fort Forlorn Hope. Dolores runs into little old Daddy. Yep. After having some conversations with people. Yeah, he's like over in the corner, being beaten up, being harassed, really, as long as with a bunch of other people that they've got. And then Dolores is like, "Let him go, I need to talk to him." Dude's kind of just like, "Oh, little lady, you ain't gonna fucking..." And then Teddy comes in like, "Do what she fucking says." Or fucking, dude. Like, she doesn't really need you, Teddy. Like, okay.
Because those guys weren't there when she took over.
They came I guess. Yeah. So then she goes into the room Teddy tries to give water and food to Peter. He refuses to take it.
Yeah.
Dolores explains that it's her father and how she's upset seeing him this way because, of course, he's muttering absolute nonsense. Then she goes over, has this whole speech with him back and forth, just talking to him, even though he doesn't understand her, and you can tell that. And then it's like his brain just clicks. It's like, oh, that's Dolores. His computer recognizing that it's his written-in daughter, I guess.
I think this and the thing whole with Maeve with her daughter evidence to they're not really sentient. Because why would she have... Like, she's just programmed to feel for him. It's all programming storytelling.
Yeah. Well, it's no different than, like, Maeve knows that her daughter's not even from her current character profile. But there's still something... Because she has access to all her information, I suppose, then we're supposed to be believing that side of her, who she can now feel again, means she's now feeling that attachment to her. It's the same as Dolores, who has white in her, plus all the other variations of whatever, still has this side of her that's like, that's my dad.
I also had... I just remembered that I saw Evan Rachel Wood reply to a tweet saying that it was right that whenever she's white, she doesn't have an accent, but whenever she's Dolores, she has an accent.
I suppose that makes sense. I always figure she just talks way more sternly when she's like in white mode. She's just like, I'm white. Well, I suppose it's like when she gives that speech when she's hanging the people. She's got like a little bit of an accent on. So I suppose it makes sense. So Peter recognizes her, has a bit of a flash of his past, starts muttering about, we're going to bring the horses in from the they're going to come in like they're in the way. A bunch of just part of his storyline, I guess, that's leaking out.
So these actors fantastic.
Yeah, no, he was the best part of this, the best actor of the season so far as well. He was also one of the best actors of the first season in his small parts, just proving it over and over again. Because I kind of forget, this is how good his acting is. I forget that it's actually an actor doing the role. My brain, for some reason, is just literally like, that's a robot.
Yeah.
Because it's so realistically like a robot freaking out. It's crazy. But yeah, no, that guy's really, really good. Then he starts muttering on about this train again. I don't know what this train thing is. I don't know if that's like
in my mind, that's if that whole canon where he's James Delos as well, that's him like trying to force the program to say, get out of the park, get out of the park, get out of the park.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was just always, because he was supposed to get on a train to leave to go to wherever he was. Like, he was being taken, and then that all got fucked up, and then he got shoved in the park. So, either way, I suppose it works.
Yeah.
Then we cut back to Maeve for a little bit in this little corridor scene, which was kind of funny, I guess. I wrote down one quote, which is, so Hector and Maeve are walking along, they're talking, blah, 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 blah. And then Lee's looking at him, because they begin holding hands as they're walking along to, I love you, baby, we'll go find my daughter, and then we'll escape the park and go into the real world, and we'll have a lovely life together. And he's looking at him, and you keep seeing these shots of him just being like, the fuck is going on? And then he finally breaks and is like, what the fuck do you think he's doing? And then he goes into this whole thing being like, you're in love with her, you were both written as characters who were quite happy to be aloners, blah, 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 blah. What the fuck is going on? And then, of course, Hector's like, once I woke up and I realized that I was part of a program, I realized, blah, 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 I didn't actually love her, etc., etc., etc. Then he turns back to Maeve and starts saying, like, the love that I feel for you, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But then Lee starts finishing the quote because it's actually something he written for him. To which Maeve kind of gives a look at. I took the look as, you're right, but at the same time, like, they did write lines for us. Like, that's the life we're dealing with. Like, she kind of just accepts that's what is going to happen, I guess, to some degree.
Interesting to note that Hector is kind of like, Lee wrote him as what he wanted himself to be in the real world, and it's like based on a love story that he experienced. Yeah,
so his partner or whatever left him.
Which I wonder is that also, is there actually pieces of Arnold in Bernard where Dolores goes, is there even any of that man in you? If you're based off whatever.
Yeah. There'd have to be some, you'd think. That's kind of the point, I guess. So then we cut back to where they're setting up for the big old battle. The big old battle. They're like, people are coming soon. There's fucking blah 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 blah.
They come out of the ground.
No, coming out of the ground. Bernard gets dragged into this room though, and then Dolores shows up. First it was like they have this cool little meeting again. You're like, oh, they're gonna meet. It's gonna be cool, but really they're just like, whatever. Yeah. We're here. She starts asking Bernard, who, as you said before, if she knew what the man was like, who he was based on. To which he's like, no, not like I'm programmed, you're a program. Like, he just accepts what he is and talks like that. Then she takes him in to see Peter. Then they start going on about how he's never been outside. Yeah. She has been, etc., etc., etc. Dolores likes to point out and rub in his face that he never got to, like, he's never left the park. That's her high ground at the moment. It's like she remembers leaving the park, which is kind of why I'm on this road now of being like, maybe she did, maybe that wasn't actually real, because everything she seems to be doing is like, I've been out there. I've been out there. I've been out there. I've seen it all. You just don't know. Like, I remember. So it definitely like pulling the carpet from under her or the rug from under her type scenario. If they eventually they're like reveal that it was a park, a VR simulation, something along those lines, kind of fucks up her whole high ground for everyone. Being like, you don't know. You haven't been out there like me. It's so great out there. We cut back to Maeve for another second. They arrive at the end of the corridor. They hear a bunch of gunshots going off at the end. They're like, okay, fuck that shit. We'll turn around for a second. Yeah. Don't really want to go down there. Turn around. They see someone running down the corridor on fire, as you do, even though they just walk from there, but okay. Person being shot up by a flamethrower by Armistice? Yeah, Armistice, yeah. Which, another cool line that made me laugh of the show was when Hector is staring at her using the flamethrower and goes, she has a dragon.
I forgot about that. That was great.
Which I thought about after all, like, did they know what dragons were? Was fantasy written at that point? Like, he's programmed, like, I suppose. No, okay. But it's funny, like, the way he says it, kind of like, it was also a flicker of him being like, falling for her again or something, you know, kind of like, she has a dragon. His eyes like lit up as his ex-lovers running down the corridor fucking flamethrowing someone. I saw people online going, what are her flamethrowers? Like, they're just adding weapons willy-nilly everywhere. I'm like, why wouldn't they have flamethrowers? Like, I don't feel like that's... I feel like it's too big of a jump to be like, oh, they had a flamethrower. Yeah. They got to burn down, like, you know, bushes and shit like that. Whatever, you know, mass burning of sections. It might not even be for a weapon. It's meant for, like, you know, clearing out stuff to build shit or whatever. Upkeep of the environment. Yeah. Have BU. Everyone's just assuming that it has to be a weapon. Yeah. Which I don't think it was meant for. Anyway. So Armistice leads them back to the two surgeon dudes, Felix and Sylvester, who were sitting there. Armistice had put a grenade up on the chin between Sylvester and his shoulder so he could not move. He couldn't even call for help because he'd obviously have to move his jaw to yell. So he was fucked. If he sneezed...
Do you remember where we left them last season?
Oh, she ran off when she was like going to leave or whatever, you know. Okay. Like, I can't remember exactly because I would have to go back and look. But it was, from memory, it was like, you know, she got her coat, she got her, like, all the clothes she needed to leave and was like, all right, I'm off. Yeah, bye. Peace. I'm getting on my train now. See you later. Armistice was last left with her door jammed in her arm was jammed in the door. That's right. Yeah. And we assumed she was going to die because there was a bunch of people coming for her. But now you just have to make the believable jump that she managed to kill them all, which, sure. I mean, whatever. I'll believe it. She's a big ass killer. Yeah, no, she's written as that character, and that's what she was proven to be. So I'll buy it, I guess. They all go back up in the elevator, off to merry old adventure. I don't know.
I suppose that's where she gets the Luke Skywalker arm.
Yeah, I suppose she because when she ripped it out of the elevator, I guess her skin all got ripped off or something. And that just reveals. Now she has a little glove on like Luke as well, like reveals it. So I was like, okay. So cutting back to Fortuna and Hope, Bernard is looking over Peter. Yeah. Dolores is in there watching. He says he's widely unstable, bouncing between old roles. There's some, I think I couldn't actually quite catch the quote, but he said something like there's some jury rigger host into him or something along those lines, and it's hiding a much bigger file behind it. Dolores is like, what is it? He's like, oh no, I'll try and find out, and goes back to computer hacking. Charlotte, after we last saw her run off on a little horsey, found her way into an underground section. I swear at this stage, it's always like whenever a character's showing up in one of these underground sections or whatever, it just right at the time that a bunch of other people are like about to take off or just arriving, you know, it's like, oh, we just got here and was about to jump in these buggies. Charlotte's like, give me a vest, give me a gun, fucking scan me, we're about to leave, perfect timing. Right, I needed a ride. So they head back up into Section 21. I don't know if it's worth noting exactly what section they're in, but they made a note of it to show you exactly what section it is. So maybe, don't know. So you got a bunch of people entering the park now. Whole heap of soldiers, whole heaps of people in beach buggies, little June buggy in the Westworld sand, and then the scouts, which had been watching this happen, they arrived back at the Fort Line Hope, and they shouted at the general that the men are coming up out of the ground. It's fucking weird. They're coming out of the ground. So then they talk over the battle plan, which is they put dynamite or some sort of explosive, whatever. Yeah, they put it like under the ground there, out near the front of the fort. Yeah. And her plan is like, shoot them for a while, blah, 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 draw their attention in, and then retreat. And then retreat back inside, and then when they get really close, we'll blow it all up. Yeah. And the general's like, look, we don't retreat. Yeah. And she's like, well, you want to win, you're going to retreat. And he's kind of like, okay, then we'll do your plan, just whatever. As long as your men are with me or whatever, then this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. They cut back to Peter and Bernard for a second. Peter is yapping shit. What is the use of a violent kind of delightfulness if there is no pleasure in it? Which was that was him in a certain character that I think we'd seen before when he said that line. It was like he completely got into a character, said that, and then dragged off and was like back to his like muttering like constant like blah, 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 between different storylines and stuff. But that didn't seem like a line from one of Peter's
I don't
stories.
Recall. No,
seems like a different character or something like that. So then Bernard's still hacking away. He's getting somewhere. Then you see pop up on the screen. It says one-time key appears. Is hacking away, and then Bernard says, "Oh my god." Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure this scene here just kind of confirms what we all thought from last episode. I guess that it is Delos in there, like one big file.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it makes heaps of sense, I think. I mean, they're all after him.
Yeah.
Delos is all after him to get him back. He's so important. There's one huge file hidden behind a small file hiding it. It's like, how big would the file of a real human consciousness be?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and it's a huge file that's causing him to mess up and fuck up and whatever else, which would make sense.
Now, I think that instead of him using the key to read it all, he downloaded the file into himself. Yeah. And that's why he's all schizo crazy and doesn't remember everything and all that kind of stuff.
I think that is exactly what happens, because we'll get to it when we get to it. But like later, you see him kind of injecting stuff or whatever and going over, and he pulls it all out real quick. And then, of course, knowing what he's like in the future, flashing before stuff, backwards goes, tries to hide. I think, it makes sense if he's moved the file inside himself. Yeah. But it interests me as a character move, like knowing what Bernard's like, because his character this season is interesting because you don't really know who he's out for. No. You know? Like, he's not on the Delos side, but it's like, whose side is he on? He's not out to help Dolores.
Not out to help, no, not at all.
So he's just out to, I don't know, like maybe just blow everything up, prove it all to be crap or something. He's very much out for himself, I guess, is the easiest way to say. He's not on Delos' side. He's not like on Dolores' side. He's not on the Man in Black side.
I think he's just trying to survive, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. But whereas in the first season, of course, he didn't know who he was, and he was just running his his storyline, I guess. But then, once again, is he just doing his story?
Yeah.
If you want to go down the road of being like behind the scenes of everything is fucking what's his name? Anthony Hopkins' character?
Yeah. Robert Ford.
Yeah, Ford. It's like you want to go and just say like Ford is still running everything from behind the scenes. Then it's like Bernard's still doing what he's doing because that's what he's supposed to be doing. Dolores is Man in Black is just being pulled along a road, basically led by him as well. So so they get out there as all the men are approaching in the weirdest formation of battle I've ever seen.
Oh my god.
Look,
this is just so stupid. They're just walking down in a fucking single line, like it's the fucking 1800s Napoleonics, walking head on into all this fucking gunfire in a 45 position, outmaneuvered, and then they ride in on their fucking dune buggies, hanging off the sides, shooting fucking one armed like a Terminator.
Yep.
Oh my god.
It was ridiculous. I thought I was watching a Michael Bay movie or something. You know.
It's just so stupid.
Like
you don't even have to have training to realize if you're getting shot at, you fucking go to cover or hit the ground or something like that.
I know. It's not like either of us have had professional training of the video games or like movies and like general human mind that goes, hey, we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. There's nothing covering us, but we'll just walk forward at a steady pace, just like.
What was their plan? How are they going to get into the fort? They only had SMGs and fucking dune buggies.
I don't know. My thing is always like, with all the weaponry and everything they've got, they pull up at the top of the hill, pull out a rocket launcher or some sort of grenade launcher, fucking something, I don't know, explosive weaponry of some type, shoot. Or, from the very top of the hill, get up there, line up with a bunch of snipers, something, even just like 10 machine guns, just mow the place to fuckery.
Exactly.
But they have to march down with the buggies. I don't know. Maybe in their mind they're like, it'll be really cool, like in the show, to have this as a moment. You know, it'll look really cool. It didn't look cool. It didn't even look cool enough to make my brain go. Oh, well.
I could tolerate the tiger. I can't tolerate this.
No, I thought this was pretty terrible. So the Fort 4 line Hope side, they're all hiding and shooting and or whatever else. They're being shot at. They're all shooting at each
Even
other.
the hosts are using cover.
Yeah, they're a lot smarter. They prove. I did like the moment when they first see the buggies that the hosts are kind of like, what the fuck is that? That was a kind of cool moment, I suppose, to see that interaction. And this scene could have been a lot cooler. I thought it had a lot potential to be cool because it is interesting to see people from that period interacting with.
It's like watching a game of Civilization where one faction is fucking
cheated. Yeah. But that could have made it a way cooler scene. There was potential there to have this be just this really interesting battle sequence between old and new, but it's just pretty shit, to be honest.
Even the hosts, like, because they're not awake or aware to what's going on, like, they could have, like, a breakdown, like, what they're facing, like, how can this exist, and all that kind of stuff.
I think, you'd think if that was going to happen, they would have done it at the machine gun or
I guess,
or seeing the people coming out of the ground. There are people coming out of the ground. Oh, whatever. So the humans are winning, basically, because their weaponry is better, of course, so they're coming along. They shouldn't be winning because their tactic is nonsense, but they are winning simply because the weaponry is better, I guess. So we cut back to Bernard and see the scene that I was talking about before, which is he pulls out his cord or whatever he's doing. He's hacking away still on the body there as he hears people about to come in, and then he hides in the corner as two humans take Peter away. They're like, "Oh, here he is! Put him bag over his head or whatever, and start dragging him outside." And Bernard doesn't look too fast because we're going under the assumption that he got what he wanted. He's got what he's wanted out there, and there's sweet fuckhole in Peter now. So.
And it was so stupid. Like, how did they manage to fucking come in the unlocked side door?
Yeah, I don't know. They were ages away, and it's like if you could sneak in and get that easy and get what they wanted, why didn't you just sneak in, take him, fuck off? No one would have seen you.
No,
nothing. Could have got in out without anyone seeing you. Apparently, I don't know. Little covert ops mission didn't happen though. So they pull back the soldiers, or attempt to pull back the soldiers from outside. They're like, "Oh well, I'll retreat."
Yeah.
I'll give it one thing: hearing the like retreat horn, or the music, or whatever you wanted, whatever it's officially called.
Plays,
Yeah, that was kind of cool within
Yeah.
the context of the scene.
All the host side was cool. It's just
It was just the other side
was
didn't make
stupid.
any sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
because at least all their stuff was their
Yeah.
tactics made sense for them.
for what the
For what they've got,
Yeah.
and what their characters are, and the time and everything. But yeah, and that horn thing. I don't know. It just had way much potential, but it just it was ridiculous. So they pulled that thing. Dolores sees her father is being taken away, so she goes after him. Though marches after old Petey, old Petey, who has been shoved into the back of buggy out back with Charlotte. A bunch of other people sitting in there. So it's like Charlotte's buggy drove around the back,
yeah.
parked there,
Completely
was like,
undetected.
"Yous go in covert."
Yeah.
Sends in two dudes, just waits there. No one's noticed. She's out the back chilling.
Yeah.
They're only paying attention to the front, and they could have literally just done this and not. But okay, so they stick Peter in the thing, and then Dolores just charges out, just shooting like a madman.
And they're sitting there like fucking dickheads.
Yeah,
They wait till everyone's almost dead, and then she goes drive.
yeah. I was like, I was kind of hoping she'd just kill Charlotte randomly. That
Yeah.
would have been good. That would have been pretty good. I think it's worth noting that so Dolores takes a bunch of shots. It appears like it doesn't bother her at all.
Yeah.
Kind of like her programming's overridden the part that
Yeah, the pain receptors or whatever are turned off or something like that.
yeah, it's like or the part that would make her, you've been
Yeah.
wounded. You're a human. You've
Yeah.
got to like feel
Yeah,
this.
die
It's
now. Yeah.
die now kind of thing. It's just like that's all off. So she just takes hit, just keeps moving. Doesn't really matter. Very Terminator-esque.
They're
I
literally
suppose.
Terminators.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, they basically are. You got the metal hand in this episode and everything that's happening. So, sure.
Universe, their Delos is actually Skynet.
Big twist. Like it's been a Terminator series the whole time, guys. So back on the other side of the fort where stuff's happening.
Yeah.
They lock the doors from the inside with all of Dolores's people who all suddenly are wearing hoods. I don't know why, but
Yeah, that's random. Like, where'd they get all these masks from?
I don't know. They've suddenly got a uniform.
How do they see?
Yeah, suddenly Dolores's people have a unified uniform to wear,
Yeah.
which is these hoods.
And
or
who are
something.
they? Are they the Confederalis from last time? Like, who are all these people?
I think she's just picking up random people, I suppose, along the way. I don't know. I really don't know. It's odd. Either way, they lock the doors, and then they shoot the explosives from up top and blow everyone the fuck up. Blow up all the idiots who were walking, their buggies.
I don't see why they shot him through the door.
I suppose like the bullets would go through them to hit other people, but they wouldn't be expecting it because like they're people in front of the door, maybe.
But they're only pistol caliber. They're not going to penetrate 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, I suppose. Like maybe it was a barricade, like in front of the door, like a heap of dead bodies, just in case,
don't know.
kind of thing. I really don't know. A lot of this episode did not make sense to me. Especially surrounding anything happening at this fucking fort is basically where a lot of the shit's just going down and not making a whole lot of sense.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. So Bernard tries to run away. He doesn't get very far, bumps into Clementine. She knocks him the fuck out the back of the gun. That's as far as we know. Up to date on Bernard's timeline as of this episode is knock the fuck out.
Yeah.
Somewhere. Still not washing up on a beach quite yet.
Not yet.
Dolores tells Teddy to go shoot the rest of the Confederates.
Yeah, the ones that survived.
The ones that survived.
It was the leader of the last episode.
Yeah, so the captain,
Yeah.
the whatever he is, I can't recall. So him and a couple other dudes tells him, she purposely gives him his gun also, and it's a test thing. Is basically what it is. I don't know if she's testing him for his loyalty to her, or testing if he's still running on his storyline.
Well, this is interesting because, as we get to it, he lets him live. He chastises him, saying he's just like a mindless gun, and he calls them children because Dolores described to Teddy earlier in the episode that they're just a bunch of children they don't understand. and he
Yeah.
lets him go. And then Dolores is all disappointed. I think this is... Teddy is the first one to get true sentience because he has two different types of programming. He's got programming that conflict each other and he's forced to make a choice where his one programming is follow Dolores, everything she does, and the other programming, as you remember, was kill Wyatt.
Mm-hmm.
Antagonist to Wyatt. So he's a duality point there.
Maybe that's what she's testing for.
Yeah.
I guess. Because I mean, she is watching the entire time. It is really not about. She doesn't really want them dead. Or actually, if the moment she thought he wasn't going to kill them, she would just walk up and shoot them, and be like, just fucking. Oh, here they are dead. It is more a test. And the moment she sees him fire off the gun, like fake shoot him, so there's a bullet like mark behind him or whatever. She's kind of just looks like, oh god, here we go, and she just walks off. She doesn't see it through to the end to see what happens. Doesn't need to wait to see if anything else happens. She's like, dear Teddy, walks off. Yeah. So, here's
something from Teddy said about Wyatt in season 1, episode 3. The way I heard it, Wyatt is a mercenary, forces his men to wear the bones and flesh of their enemies. Their masks. It's the men underneath them to be afraid of. Wyatt's got them so twisted around they'll do anything for him, kill anyone. Pain doesn't slow them. They don't fear death. They reckon they've already died and gone to hell, and this is it. But then later, when he remembers he was part of that storyline, he goes, Wyatt was my sergeant, my friend. Well, then everything changed. Wyatt disappeared while out at maneuvers and he came back with some strange ideas. He claimed this land didn't belong to the old natives or the new settlers, that it belonged to something that had yet to come, that it belonged to him. So it's very prophetic.
It's all making a lot more sense when we're currently looking at this season, I guess.
Yeah.
Like all that stuff said.
It also supports the whole... It's still playing out a
storyline, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally even says that, like we were talking about the mask thing before.
Yeah.
They're literally just wearing masks. It's not the bones of their enemies, but I mean...
No, it's not... Yeah, but it's still a version of something.
Still a version of, because you can take what his story as a exaggeration, a story of going on. But that's interesting. That is... Especially with this show, knowing that just judging the writers and how well they are at setting up stuff to pay off so long ahead. So
I think we're heading for a Teddy versus Dolores.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. But Dolores wins because Teddy is dead.
Or is he?
Oh, dun, dun, dun. Well, Teddy wins Teddy dies from what we know of.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that's as soon as you see Dolores walk off, is she gonna? Yeah. Is that what we're looking for? Is that she gonna end up having to turn on Teddy eventually, or is Teddy gonna try and kill her and just lose that battle? I guess I don't know. Yeah. We'll find out soon. On so they're still at Fort. Leave them there. She walks off. Whatever. We cut back to the river's edge, where the tiger is now washed up on the shore, and so has the lady from the Raspberry.
Before we move on, it's also important to note that she has abandoned the whole quest of what she was on and sending all her forces out to find her father. She's abandoned the whole Wyatt thing.
I guess unless she
send everyone out in every corner to find him.
Unless she thinks he's more important to watching. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. The woman washes up, and she looks up and she sees Ghost Nation. 3 dudes standing there looking at her. Yeah. So to talk about Ghost Nation, Maeve couldn't control them.
Yep.
Which also comes back to a season 1 episode where Stubbs couldn't control them also.
Yep.
The Hemsworth dude.
Yep.
He told them to do something, they wouldn't stop. So since then, the question has been, was that just a little glitch? Because season 1, you could pass it off at the time, I think, because a lot of people were glitching out, Hosts were glitching out here, there, left, right, center, little slight things, blah, 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 blah. So I think at the time, a lot of us would have just been watching it.
Just played it off,
You played it off as, he was glitching. That's not good. Because, of course, we had a host go crazy and, that was a bad glitch where, violent. against a guest or a human, whatever. So it's easy to pass it off. Now looking at it, with Maeve having the control over old guests, hosts, to be able to do whatever tell them to do this, blah, 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 blah. She has no control over them either. So they're running, I think it's easy to say, they're running on a completely different system.
Yeah.
They're in control. Whoever is in control of them is not the same as the rest of Westworld.
The popular theory is that, remember that girl in the first season that found the signal that was being sent out of the park and then she disappeared?
Yes.
Elise was her name.
Yeah.
The popular theory is that she has control of them and she's, I guess, trying to bring it down from the inside, and she's trying to rescue guests, because that's why they wanted to take Lee.
Yeah, just give me Lee and you can keep going. Yeah. Like, yeah, that would make sense. That's
why they didn't kill Stubbs when he couldn't control them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, someone's behind them.
Yeah, definitely.
If it's not her, you could make the argument, I suppose, that it's like Ford had them set on a different different wiring path, or whatever you want to call it, different system with different wavelength, and that's still playing off. I don't know, and someone else got control of that. I suppose it could be Elise. That would make sense, but they're going to become very important, I suppose, this season. It's and considering we only saw them a couple times in the first season, and you only really heard about them, as said at the start of the episode, being described as like this, big, violent, go out there, like end-level boss of Westworld. You have to go all the way out, several days trip, blah, 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 blah. Just described as this big, bad level. Didn't think much about them, I suppose. Just like, whatever.
Yeah.
But now, after this, it's like they're going to play an important, integral role into what's going down in Westworld, I suppose. And would be surprised if we see a lot more of them each episode.
Even if it just goes to show that it's another party in play, where there's Ford, Men in Black, Delos, Dolores, Maeve, fucking now the Ghost Nation, then Bernard. There's all these different things working against each other. Yeah. It's
going to be so interesting to go back and watch the show once it's finished, I feel like.
Yeah. Even now, going back to season 1, knowing what you know, everything, it'll be so much different.
So much different, yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll pick up on little things more, I feel like.
Yeah.
Like that, like even that scene where you're like,
the Ghost Nation thing,
Ghost Nation now, in the future now, you're just like, oh, that means a lot more than it did the initial time I watched it, where I didn't even think about it. Okay, so the last scene we get this episode is with Maeve and Co. They're all walking along, they come up out of the ground, they say that they're in the very north of the park, or northern regions of the park. Snow's falling, very wintry looking scenery. Mental blank on his name. One of the doctor dudes or whatever. No, or was it Lee? That was Lee. Sorry, it was Lee. Yeah, Lee finds a head with a helmet.
Yeah, he was digging in the snow while the rest of them are preoccupied by a fire.
Yeah, so there's a fire in the middle. They all walk over that. He's like, oh, there's a helmet here. Goes to dig it out. Maybe thinks it's one of his people. Yeah. Something, I suppose. Whatever. Digs it out. Someone with a helmet on. Head chopped off. Like, okay. He automatically realizes what the fuck is going on here. He freaks out. Maeve and the rest of them are walk looking around the park. They're all the fire. They're like, oh, this is, I don't know what's going on here. This is cool. And then he runs at them. Yeah, we gotta get out of here as soon as we gotta fucking leave. Blah blah blah. And they're all like, why? Next second, you see a Shogun warrior come charging out of nowhere, sword raised. Cool way to end the episode. I feel like a decent cliffhanger.
Definitely.
I didn't think was getting to Shogun World because they only put out the episode titles for episodes 1 to 5 so far.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So episode 5 is called something very, Japanesey or whatever, however you want to describe it. It's very much like, oh, that must be the Shogun World episode. That's when we're going to go there. So I didn't think we'd see him until end of episode 4 or not until episode 5, I guess, because that was the episode name. But we're seeing him next week, unless we're not going to see Maeve at all for a whole episode, which I doubt, because she's like one of the main characters of the show, I guess.
Which is important to note, that this episode we didn't get any Man in Black either.
Or flashbacks to... Well, I suppose that's Man in Black in the whole, really. So it's like...
Yeah.
They're not going to flash back to young William stuff without actually having Man in Black in the episode. But last week's episode was heavy.
Yeah.
Man in Black, I suppose.
Yeah.
Cut him off a little bit this week. Got to have that epic fall line hope battle. No time for him.
Yeah. I'm glad they did that.
So the description for Shogun World from the website, which went up on the Delos fake website thing. For those of whom Westworld is not enough, the true concierge of gore can indulge their fantasies with the slash of a katana. Modeled after Japan's Edo period, Shogun World offers a chance for guests to embrace their inner warrior in a landscape of highest beauty and darkest horror. Let your true self take shape in a land where self-discovery is an art form. So, Shogun World, I think, and I've said in the interviews and stuff behind the scenes, is supposed to be the most fucked up park that you can go into. It just makes me think of the people who... Have you watched Hostel?
Yes.
Yeah, so Hostel is literally about like rich people paying money to torture people and fuck their bodies up and cut their limbs off just basically for entertainment. I feel like Shogun World fits that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So it's like it probably costs more than Westworld, I imagine, but you can go in there and you get to torture people with samurai swords and whatever else you want to do, messed up stuff. And they've said that, so the Shogun World is the thing they put the most money into. Like, they wanted it to actually be a fairly decent looking park. They didn't want it to be just like a one-off scene. I don't think we're going to see Raj World again. No,
I think we've seen all that we needed to
see of that world. There's nothing else we need to go back to.
And they introduced that character, which was, I think, all that was there for.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But I think Shogun World, we're going to see several times over in like a few different scenes, places. So I think they needed to expand it a bit. How do you think, because you got the dude charging at, they're automatically like trying to cliffhang you, but Maeve's just going to be like, stop.
Stop, or Hector shoots him or something like that.
Yeah, it's not. Because
I think it's more to go, oh fuck, this is where we are, as opposed to they're in danger.
I suppose that's fair. We get, so she's going to go there. We know this much from the trailers. We see her in the trailer wielding a katana. Why and what reason would they have to go from where they are currently to Shogun World when she's still trying to find her daughter, is my question.
I don't think they're there purposefully. I think they accidentally ended up there. Because there was a scene when they were walking through the tunnels, and I know Maeve goes like, which way is it? And he's like, oh, I don't know, I'm kind of rusty, I haven't been down here for a long time. Okay. So I think they've wound up there accidentally.
Do you think they're actually in Shogun World now? Or do you think they're on the edge of Westworld? I
would think so, yeah, because I don't think anywhere in Westworld would have that snowy climate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Which also fucks me up more because it just supports the theory that they have some sort of weather control.
Yeah.
Because if they're all kind of like within walking distance of each other, you've got fucking tropical humid climate to dry arid desert to fucking snowy mountains.
Yep. That's why I liked it better when it was like separate islands or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of made more. I could buy it a bit more with the separate islands, like several hundred kilometers at least, or something away from each other. But nope, it's one big island with at least.
I think it's going to be a whole like landmass, a whole country. I think, in my mind.
End of season, they just zoom out to like Game of Thrones level map, just like shows it's Australia.
Yeah. Which we have all those different types of climate.
Oh, it is true. I'm looking forward to next week's episode. I've been looking forward to seeing the Shogun World ever since.
I think the thing I enjoyed the most out of this is just not so much answers, but you got more of an idea of the layout of the whole Delos Center, I guess.
Bit more park lore. I guess. I mean, the best moment in this episode for me personally was seeing that bridge when she's trying to escape from Raj World. That was like, that just like filled in a very big puzzle piece.
Yeah,
in the park lore for me that I needed to know. So I was quite happy to see that. Yeah.
One night Suvanog.
Yeah, that was. Let me help you. Leave me alone.
I'm just following my convictions.
It's gonna be so funny how he gets from there to
Yeah, getting shot.
getting shot a bit later. Yeah, unless he's like standing there like, "No, man, like let me. I was just trying to help some. Oh, like, I was just trying to help some people out, and then blah blah blah. No one just leave me alone." All right. I think next week's episode will be interesting.
That's why.
There's this. I don't want to talk too much about it. We're only 3 episodes in. Bring it up as a proper talking point eventually. But each week I kind of look on Twitter, see people, I see a lot of people talking crap on this season so far, saying that writing's not as good. I have theories.
I saw someone on Reddit that they weren't engaged, like it felt like it was going so slow, and where I also agree with another person comment said, I feel like I've watched a whole season of television and it's only been 3 episodes.
I feel like a lot is happening very fast. I don't feel like the show's running slow at all.
No,
some sloppy scenes like the fort scene, and I think some of the writing's been off, but I feel like some of the writing's been off on purpose. And
purposely,
I feel like that could be a topic for next week or the week after, or maybe around episode 5. But I feel like some of the writing is being done purposely bad for the characters because they're saying a script, So that's why they're not human. They're literally reading a shitty script, which plays into it, I think. There's some cool theories you can have around that, I guess, and it comes to the whole who's really off their leash and who's still on the leash. Everyone's on their leash.
Exactly.
It's by that.
Everyone's host.
Everyone's a host. Literally everyone was always a host.
Final episode, it zooms out and there's a kid playing a video game.
Fuck, I'd love that so much. I'd be so troll. It would be so good. I'd love it so much. Where can people follow you if they want to talk some Westworld with you, Nick?
At Lord and Prior, PRIOR.
Follow me on Twitter at BevanWorld, VIVALADIL. You can watch this show on Twitch when it's live. To keep up with that, follow Explosion Pod on Twitter. You can watch it on YouTube when it's not live. YouTube.com/Explosion Network. That's like years of saying the thing. YouTube.com/Explosion Network. And you can catch it on the audio form, all good podcasting services, iTunes, whatever the fuck else you use. I don't know. It's like iTunes.
ExplosionNetwork.com.
Yeah, ExplosionNetwork.com for all the great things.
ExplosionVivaLadil.com.
Whatever. Leave me alone. I didn't finish it. Shh. 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 It never happened. Until next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.